Hello, what a brilliant weekend we had in the Championship. 10 matches on this time. Unfortunately, we lost Cardiff and Plymouth due to the storm that wreaked havoc up and down the UK. We're going to kick things off with the 10 matches we've got. Friday night, Burnley against Middlesbrough. So it was Burnley straight off the back of four straight wins, hosting a Middlesbrough side at Turf Moor who were fresh off a 3-1 victory against Hull City last weekend. Michael Carrick's last visit to Turf Moor was in December 2022 with his Borough side losing 3-1 that day. But they gained a point against the high-flying Clarets this time around. Now, in the lineup, Scott Parker named two from the side that beat Stoke last weekend. Josh Brownhill and John Egan making his full Burnley debut, coming into the starting 11 for Josh Lauren and CJ Egan-Riley. Joe Worrell and Halmar Akdal were both welcomed to the bench after returning from their respective injuries. For the away lineup, it was just a single change for Michael Carrick. Seny Dieng had missed 3 games through illness, but he returned to training this week, returning in goal in place of Sol Bryn. Tommy Conway again got the nod over Emmanuel Latte-Lath up front, while Riley McGree was back in the squad and selected on the bench. Now on to the match, and Anthony Daxtel gave Borough the lead just the first shot of the game, 13 minutes in. He dinked cleverly over Claret's goalkeeper James Trafford, finding the net from 12 yards. An early great goal from Daxtel. Connor Roberts was sent off the last time these two met at Turf Moor in 2022, but he scored his first goal for Burnley since he scored the winner against the same opponent back in a 2-1 win at the Riverside in April 2023. With less than 10 minutes before the break, Roberts drifted infield from his right-back position, and a quick 1-2 with Josh Brownhill, who's having a strong season himself, found himself the space around 25 yards out to hit a lifted strike with his left foot. Whether it caught Dieng out with his positioning or some wind assistance in difficult conditions is up for debate. But either way, it flew over the Borough keeper to level the match up. Both sides created opportunities in the second half, but it ended all square, meaning Burnley remained second, a point behind leaders Sheffield United, while Borough stayed in 5th place. Looking at the match statistics, so stats-wise shows a similar number of chances on target for both teams. Expected goals, though, suggest that 1-1, a reasonable result for the chances created. Both right-backs with the goals, given the highest rating on sofascore.com. Do check them out, some fantastic statistics and information on matches on that website, as well as good performances from Barlatza and Fry for Borough. While Burnley's highest on the rating was James Trafford and, of course, in Cullen. 12 corners as well for Burnley. They were unable to make that effective. Middlesbrough won 70% of their aerial duels over the match. Now, moving on to the managers and their post-match press conference, Scott Parker said, "I thought we were well worth 3 points tonight. The conditions definitely played a large factor in tonight's game for both teams, really. You could see that in the flight of the ball and the winds and the rain, there were tough conditions. They scored a goal against the run of play, and that was probably down to us a little bit. Certainly, it's something we need to look at. We gifted that a little bit in terms of the way that we positioned ourselves. As a coach, I was looking at certain moments and seeing the learning from it." He said it's the first time the team has conceded in a long time. He wanted to see what sort of reaction we got, and he got a reaction from the group of men that was nothing short of superb. Michael Carrick's side, he said it's a good point. You go in the changing room, there's a tinge of disappointment, which is a good sign for me. The boys are disappointed that we haven't won the game. We're striving for more, we're hoping for more. Tonight we couldn't quite get it, but we'll certainly take it and use it as a positive going into the games coming up. So Burnley's run of 5 straight clean sheets came to an end. Daxtel's effort, only the 7th that Burnley have conceded in the Championship all season. While frustrated not to pick up all 3 points at home, it was against a spirited and in good form Middlesbrough side. With more goals picking up in recent weeks, it will give Burnley some hope, but a statistic that comes straight out to the eye when you're looking at the league statistics here on the dashboard is how wasteful that the Clarets are being in front of goal. 26.1% shot on target percentage is actually the worst in the division. This equates to just over 3 shots on target a game from 12.5 shots. Outside of Josh Brownhill, there's no clear reliance on goals, although Jay Rodriguez and Jeremy Sarmiento's return per minutes played is not terrible. But with such a solid defence, Burnley always have a chance. They really have been outstanding at the back. They will feel confident next time out as well against Derby, who are struggling on a dip of form. Michael Carrick has got things clicking for Middlesbrough, though, after a back and forth start to the season. His name has been rumoured for recent Premier League jobs, but Borough seem to be finding their footing with a real chance of the playoffs if they can continue in this way. Attacking wise, they continue to be exciting, second in the league for goals scored, shots on target, as well as a reasonable defence with only 1.8 saves required per match. Unfortunately, their save percentage with Sonny Dieng is the weakest. Questions were again asked with the positioning for Roberts' goal at the weekend, although the conditions were pretty awful and there was certainly some wind assistance with that one. A tough fixture away at Leeds next for Borough follow this one as Carrick looks to keep his side inside the top six. Leeds United 2, Derby County 0. Joe Rodon and Max Weber both hit the net for the first time for Leeds United as Daniel Farke's side moved temporarily to the top of the Championship table with a 2-0 victory over Derby. Leeds are unbeaten in their last 5 against Derby going into this one, but Daniel Farke's record was not so good, with just one win out of his last 6 against the Rams. Now, Leeds lined up to take on Derby with just a single change after the defeat to Blackburn Rovers last weekend. Manor Solomon coming in on the left-hand side as Wilfred Gnonto dropped to the bench. A real positive for Leeds was also the return of Ethan Ampadu to the matchday squad. The Welsh midfielder missed 10 weeks with a knee injury and was a real positive for Farke to have his captain back in the fold. The away lineup suspensions hit the Derby County team as both Ebu Adams and Callum Elder had picked up yellow cards in last week's defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. Centre-back Nat Phillips came in, as did the experienced Craig Forsyth. Caden Jackson also found a place in the starting lineup, having come on as a second-half substitute last week. So on to the match, and Derby had already had a warning on the set pieces in the first half. Brendan Aronson had forced a corner with a strike blocked by Owen Cashin before Joe Rodon sent his free header wide, where he would have surely felt that he should have done better. But he made no mistake second time around. He got his head to a Joe Rothwell corner, finding the bottom left of the goal past a diving Zetterstrom to open the scoring. Now, Max Weber had been named on the substitutes bench. An early injury to Junior Firpo saw him brought into the game after just 20 minutes. Just before half-time, he reacted sharply and pounced on an Aronson cross that diverted to his feet. He doubled Leeds' advantage, and it ended up being 2 of their most unlikely scorers. Leeds continued to pile forward, searching for a third after the break. Zetterstrom did well, keeping out a swerving shot from Dan James. Tanaka had a chance as well before Joel Piral forced the Swede into the finest save of the afternoon with a shot that looked like it was going to bury in the bottom corner. Derby struggled to create any real meaningful chances in response. Their only shot on target came in the 80th minute as Liam Thompson struck a long-range effort straight at Leeds goalkeeper Ilya Meslier. Now, match statistics wise, looking at it, Leeds were dominant in all areas, to be fair. They shook off last week's defeat with 63% possession, 125 passes in the final third, and 18 shots, which show their dominance. Leeds have won each of their last 7 league games at Ellen Road, conceding just 1 goal in the process. Their run of 4 consecutive home clean sheets is the first time since June 2020. Rodon and Weber not likely on people's score predictions as well, but they did the job at Ellen Road. Now, on to the post-match press conferences. Daniel Farke said for the first 10-15 minutes were a bit hectic in our decision-making. After that, we were all over them and we didn't allow them to have one chance. We created many chances and could and should have scored a few more. We're struggling with a few injuries during the game, but you couldn't see this affected us at all. This is our way at the moment and we're finding solutions. Now, Paul Warren said that we came into it knowing it would be a tough one. I don't think there's any shame that we haven't come away with a win. Defensively, we're pretty good and we limited them to a few chances in the first half. But he did say, I don't know what we could have done apart from being tidier on the ball, how we're going to create a chance. I know that sounds negative, but that's the truth. Now, Leeds are undoubtedly and rightfully challenging at the top of the Championship. Sharing the goals amongst 2 of their unlikely scorers at the weekend shows the confidence in attacking scenarios throughout the squad. Most shots, least shots of their goal, most possession, and a good disciplinary record. All the stats point in Leeds' favour in their season to date. Sadly, Junior Firpo has been confirmed to be out for around 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury, but Sam Byram and Jaden Bogle are in the running to return in midweek. A challenging game against Middlesbrough is up next, but their impressive home form will make that a very difficult place for Michael Carrick's men to go. 80% of Championship matches won at Ellen Road this season and 22 goals scored with 5 conceded will be daunting for any side to go to. The push is real, and time will tell if promotion is the end of season story for Daniel Farke and his side. Off the back of 2 defeats with players missing coming into an away tie with Leeds, in all truth, the afternoon probably went as expected for a lot of Derby fans. Wins have been hard to come by of late, and that's 5 matches now without the 3 points. It doesn't get any easier for the Rams as they travel to Turf Moor in the next week and will be looking over their shoulders. They sit just 3 points above the relegation zone. A good season so far has worrying sides of turning on Derby and Paul Warne in December if it continues to be tricky. Now, Warren's post-match comments, a little bit worrying. We're a League One team with a sprinkling of sugar. It's a worrying statement. I'm sure fans will accept a defeat to Leeds, but they will be expecting their teams to compete with others in the division. I mean, we're a League One team with a sprinkling of sugar. Doesn't really kind of give the flavour that the fans are looking for. But Derby so far doing okay. They're sat in 16th, but they do need to pick up a couple of wins in weeks to come. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Preston North End 1. Honours even at Hillsborough with Emil Rees-Jacobsen and Michael Smith seeing a 1-1 draw between the two. The away side now going 4 draws in a row. Wednesday have rescued more points from losing positions than any other team in the Championship now, with 11 points recovered, and they had to do it again after Preston struck first on Saturday lunchtime. With Barry Banham missing through injury, Liam Palmer came in and took the captain's armband, while Ika Ugbo had recovered from injury. Josh Windass was back starting, and Dominic Yorfa drops to the bench, as does Anthony Musaba. For Preston, Paul Heckingbottom brought Freddie Woodman back after suspension, while Josh Bowler and captain Ben Whiteman dropped to the bench along with Di Cornell. In came Brad Potts and the returning Mads Rokia. Now, in the match, Emil Rees, he was the man, tapped in the opener for the visitors following great work from fellow Dane Frokja Jensen in the first quarter of the match, before Preston goalkeeper Freddie Woodman then produced some penalty heroics. He denied Wednesday's Josh Winders from the spot, as well as the resulting follow-up attempt, making up somewhat for his red card against Stoke 11 days earlier. Now, Windass's blushes were spared, however, in the 76th minute as former Netherlands under-21 winger Musaba picked out Smith. His finish was good enough to beat Woodman's dive to his right, and it left both sides with a point apiece. Looking at the match statistics, Preston's XG of 3.34 was largely down to that penalty and the follow-up miss from Windass, but it doesn't look good reading with a single goal returned. 7 shots on target forced Woodman into 6 saves as they were unable to take the game away from Wednesday. Valentin and Musaba did make impacts from the bench, while Sam Greenwood got the highest player rating according to SofaScore, as Preston picked up yet another draw. Now, the post-match reactions in the conference, Danny Roll said, "For me, it's a defeat. We deserved nothing today. They created more chances. They were the better team. They were more aggressive. They did the basics better than us. For me, it's a shame to see the first 10 to 15 minutes how we started the game." While Heckingbottom said he was delighted with the lots of the football the lads are producing under difficult conditions, frustrated probably the word, and disappointed we haven't taken 3 points. He said it's a hard one to watch because we'll probably review a few things, but as I kept saying, I saw a lot of good things. Now, looking at the dashboard for Sheffield Wednesday, it keeps their unbeaten run going to 4, recovering from their bad start to now sneak into the top half for the first time this season as results went their way at the weekend. Riding their luck at times, of course, this match coming back from losing positions could be seen one of 2 ways. They're, of course, showing themselves to be resolute and fighting back from difficult scenarios, but they're also putting themselves in trouble far too often. They will hope to improve this in coming weeks, no doubt whatsoever. For Preston, 4 draws in a row, 5 draws in 6, 7 draws in 9, whichever way you look at it. Preston are nothing short of consistent, surely, and that's for sure. Paul Heckingbottom has steadied the ship from the opening weeks a little bit. They are still struggling to win games, but they're not struggling too much in terms of that relegation zone at the moment. They're yet to have an away win to their name, though, in the Championship this season. Goals scored, certainly a problem. Discipline possibly costing them a bit, almost costing them further today if the penalty from Windass had been converted. Cardiff away awaits next before Leeds, and a key clash with QPR is on the horizon. Sunderland 2, Stoke City 1 was another of the Saturday lunchtime games. Teenager Tommy Watson was at the double for Sunderland with his first 2 goals of hopefully a long and successful career, as Sunderland won their first in 7 matches. Going into this one, Sunderland had lost 4 of their last 6 against Stoke, with their opponents winning 2 of their last 3 matches at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland have made a solitary change to the starting lineup, with Adji Alisi coming in for Chris Mepham, missing with his one-game suspension after being dismissed at Sheffield United last Friday. Dennis Sirkin returns to the matchday squad as well after recovering from wrist surgery. Now for Stoke, head coach Narcis Palach went contrast a triple change. He went for captain Ben Gibson being ill, Michael Rose returned, while Andrew Moran and Lewis Kumas also restored to the side. Ender Stevens missed the encounter with expectation that he will be available next week alongside potential returnees Sam Gallagher and Bosan Lawal. Now, in the match, Stoke started well. Recalled on loan Liverpool teenager Kumas opened the scoring on 6 minutes when he broke down the right near the halfway line before cutting in and he tested Anthony Patterson. His first effort was saved, but he coolly clipped the rebound in left-footed from a tighter angle. It's the 4th goal of the season for Kumas. Yet the Stoke lead lasted barely 30 seconds before being cancelled out straight from the restart by an opposition player who's even younger than Kumas. Yes, it is that man. It's Watson. It's Watson. Sunderland fans very excited about him. Exchanged passes with Joe Bellingham inside the Stoke box before the 18-year-old fired him powerfully, beating Johansson at his right near post. Watson was an absolute hero then for them as he won it late on, picked out by Patrick Roberts. His right foot shot deflected past Johansson into the opposition corner, but Sunderland won't care. 2-1 in the end to the Black Cats. Now, looking at the match statistics, Sunderland was certainly well in ascendancy with 2.74 XG to 0.79. They'd have been disappointed to get out of this one with just a draw. 8 saves from Victor Johansson earned him an 8.2 rating, and there was nothing he could do about the winner from Tom Watson, who got a huge 9.7 rating from SofaScore. 113 final third passes from Sunderland, 10 shots on target, 9 corners to boot. The threats were numerous to the Stoke goal. Strength in the air, on the ground as well, also important for the home side. They won 61% of duels all over the pitch. Now, post-match reaction from the Sunderland manager said, "We deserved to win. Many chances to score. It was difficult. Conditions were there to remind us that nothing comes easily in life. It was a long battle, but this will have created a new confidence." While Palach said for Stoke, all of the effort was disappointing to lose to a deflection goal. Players felt they deserved more. Said a lot of teams suffer here, but we're very pleased with the way that we competed. Now, in a beautiful way of words, Sunderland winger Tom Watson was described as a well-designed gift by his boss after scoring his first 2 goals in the Championship, of course, as the High Flyers beat Stoke City and a storm hit Wearside. With the timing important, Sunderland's blistering early form had been halted recently with a large number of draws and defeat to Sheffield United the week before. Already known as a young, talented side, Chris Riggs obviously caught the eye, Joe Bellingham amongst others, receiving praise this season. Watson showed maturity in his performance and another danger for opposition managers to be wary of. Next up for Sunderland is Bristol City before a trip to Swansea next weekend. Now for Stoke, that is 2 losses now on the bounce, 5 matches without a win, their last coming against Blackburn on matchday 14. Goals have been a problem, but one positive will be seeing Kumas get back on the score sheet with them as the Potters had gone 2 games without a goal. Luton away next poses another challenge for a team that have lost half of their away games on the road this season. They currently sit in 15th place as Narcis Palach continues to search for the right formula with his new team. Hull City 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. Hull City's new manager Ruben Selles was in the stands to watch his new team take on Blackburn Rovers at the MKM Stadium, but he was helpless to help the Tigers, who went down 1-0 to their 6th Championship loss on the trot. Rovers turned up at Hull off the back of 3 straight Championship wins, but well aware that they lost both encounters last season, managed by Liam Rossini, of course, last term. Now, for the home side caretaker boss, Andy Dawson selected the whole team for the final time before Sellers would take the dugout for the visit of Watford on Wednesday. He made 5 changes to the starting 11 that faced Middlesbrough last time out. Ryan Giles, Charlie Hughes, Chris Bedia, Gustavo Puerta and Ryan Longman all coming into the side. For the away team, Harry Pickering misses out. He featured at the MKM Stadium after picking up a strain. So captain Lewis Travis was also out, serving a 1-match suspension after picking up his 5th booking of the season in the 1-0 win over Leeds United. So Lewis Baker came into the midfield, partnering up with Sondre Tronstad, who took the captain's armband, while Ryan Hedges returned to the starting side in place of Pickering. Now, in the match, of course, just the one goal, but the only goal came in the 20th minute. Callum Britton picked up a loose ball on the edge of the box. He drove past Ryan Giles and fired low across the box on the right. Poor Sean McLaughlin, he didn't celebrate his 100th championship appearance as he would have wanted. The ball flew off his outstretched leg into the back of the net. Hull came close several times to an equaliser. Ainsley Pears spilled an initial Ryan Longman shot, but he reacted brilliantly and quickly to deny Abu Kamara on the rebound. The right winger Kamara again had an opportunity from close range at the back post, but a great sliding challenge from Owen Beck deflected the ball away. Casey Palmer and Gustavo Puerta both let fly from range, but Pears denied. Palmer and Puerta saw his effort then fire wide of the post. Chris Bedia found space in the box, his left-footed finish over the bar as Blackburn saw the game out without too many attacking opportunities. Now, in the match statistics, Blackburn's first shot on target didn't come until the 51st minute, and it ended up being their solitary effort as it was a tame effort into the hands of Ivan Panda. Now, stats-wise, it points to Hull. They're unfortunate. 6 shots on target. They also hit the woodwork, as well as 3 times as many final third passes. But ultimately, it brought no reward. As we often say, there's only one score that matters in the match, and it is the big one. Ainsley Pears was solid in goal for Blackburn whenever he was called upon, although half of these did come from long range. For Hull, the lively performance of Ryan Longman will have stood out for Celes, give him something to work with. SofaScore awarded him a strong 7.7 rating, but his exit after 65 minutes saw one of 5 changes made by Dawson, with limited effects as the chances for Hull dried up towards the end of the game. Now, caretaker manager Andy Dawson said, I thought the first half played some really good stuff. I was really pleased with the lads. We knew it was going to be difficult. Talking of Ruben Celes, he says he's been brilliant in terms of letting us crack on and get a result today, which obviously we didn't, but he came into the dressing room after, had a chat with the lads and brought a freshness. Now, for the away side for Blackburn, he said a lot of their shots were from outside the box today. He said Eustace, which was good. We knew we were coming up against a really talented team of lots of excellent technicians. They were a really good footballing team, so we knew it was going to be a tough game, but he's proud of the boys and the way they dug in and kept a clean sheet. Now, on to the dashboard for Hull City. They've now conceded the first goal of the game 14 times this season, which alongside Plymouth is the joint worst in the division. The Tigers have now dropped into the bottom of the league with just 15 points. And after slipping into the relegation zone on Matchday 16. It's been a really difficult season so far. Hopes on the horizon for Hull, though. A new manager might be able to install some belief back in the side. Ruben Celes joins, of course, from Reading, having pushed them to 6th in League One, despite some pretty difficult financial restrictions and off-pitch distractions. Having joined Reading last year in July, he stabled them to a 17th place finish last campaign and managed 78 games in the end for the Royals, winning 34 of them with a 43.6% win percentage. His first game in charge will be against Watford at home on Wednesday. So that's 4 on the trot now for Rovers in the win column. They're 9th of the season and just their 3rd away from Ewood Park. This run has seen them surge back into the playoffs, 3 consecutive 1-0 scorelines. Travis has now seen out his suspension as well, so that was a good victory to get under their belts in what is set to be a manic December full of games. Defensively, Blackburn have been so much more assured than was expected. Last season, Blackburn conceded 74 goals, with only Huddersfield and Rotherham conceding more. John Eustace has made them much more of a unit, conceding less than a goal a game with 3 clean sheets in a row. Next up for Blackburn is a trip to Danny Roll Sheffield Wednesday before they host Luton on Saturday. Luton Town 1, Swansea City 1. There was a slight delay to this one on Saturday afternoon. There was a medical issue with a supporter, which thankfully Luton have now announced and commented afterwards. The support was stable in hospital and the paramedics probably saved the person's life. So wonderful job from them. By the end of the afternoon, though, Luton's opener from Elijah Adebayo had been cancelled out by a Matt Grimes strike in the second half, leaving the honours even with a 1-1 draw. Rob Edwards had rang the changes for the visit of Swansea. There was 4 changes to the starting lineup from the defeat against Norwich last weekend. Tom Holmes, Marvellous Nakamba, Tom Krause and Victor Moses all earning starts. Sadly for Luton, though, Ted Mengi is expected to be sidelined for months now. He's suffered a knee injury in training and it will require surgery. For the away side, Joe Allen dropped to the bench for Swansea as they welcomed Goncalo Franco back to their starting team, partnering captain Matt Grimes in the centre of the pitch, the only change since the 2-2 draw against Portsmouth. Now, in the match, Luton punished early Swansea missed chances, and Adebayo opened the scoring on 17 minutes as he took advantage of a defensive mistake from the Swans. He intercepted an underhit back pass and confidently rounded goalkeeper Lawrence Vigouroux from scoring in the end from an acute angle. Swansea looked to push. They had Cullen and Tim on both tested Kaminsky, at the other end, Adebayo headed wide from a Jordan Clark cross. But it was Matt Grimes. He stepped up as the captain, hitting a wonderful equaliser. It was a pullback corner. He came onto the ball with a crisp, unstoppable strike, into the left top-hand corner. The edge of the box, he just ran onto it. It was a brilliant goal. Both sides pushed for a winner. They looked to get back to winning ways, but the spoils were shared thanks to some fine goalkeeping, particularly from Kaminsky. Now, on the stats, Swansea was seen as mightily unfortunate to only walk away with a single point following a strong display at Kenilworth Road. 65% possession, as well as 20 shots in total, 10 of them on target on Kaminsky's goal on most days would surely have been enough to take the win. But Thomas Kaminsky had different ideas for Luton, an 8.6 rating from SofaScore off the back of 9 saves over the course of the 90 minutes. Frustrating for Swansea in front of goal, but at least the goal that they did score from Grimes was an absolute peach. Post-match, Rob Edwards said, "It's a really tough day. We started off before the game with a really worrying moment." He said, and that's the most important thing, that this person was okay. He said it was hard to get into any rhythm. No one's really playing at their peak at the moment, and we were hanging on at the end. Luke Williams said, "We could have come away with all the points, but we gave away a sloppy goal and rode our luck a little bit." He said, "I think we started the game brilliantly well, and the first half was a strong performance. Second half, there was no let up from the lads." He said, "I think they really deserve their goal for throwing everything forward." Overall for Luton, it does stop the rot of the last 2 back-to-back defeats by Leeds and Norwich and extends their unbeaten run at home to 4 games. Still a season of frustration, though, for the Hatters, with expectations higher than finishing 18th, I'm sure. Looking at the league statistics there, Kaminsky is being called into action far too often, as proved again this weekend. He's made the 3rd most saves in the league per 90, and only Plymouth have faced more shots on their own goal than Luton. Rob Edwards will know they can't keep giving up the quantity of chances that they are, and they're falling short of performances they put in both the Premier League campaign and the playoff winning success of the 22-23 season. Now, Swansea are a team who continue to stick to their principles of possession-based football, and it should have rewarded them more against Luton. 2 draws and a win in their last 3 sees them secure in mid-table, but they can go higher. Williams was talking after the game how impressive Grimes has been for the club. With finishes like that, it's well worth more than the 2 goals he scored this season if they can get him in the right areas. But Swansea have lost half of their away games. The big picture is a draw with that performance then might give them a bit more confidence, but missed chances are outlining while they're only scoring at a rate of 0.70 goals per game outside of matches in Swansea. Millwall 0, Coventry City 1. Frank Lampard took his first 3 points as Coventry City boss as his Sky Blues defeated Millwall 1-0 at the Den on Saturday afternoon. Fans and players paid tribute to former Lions boss John Docherty, who sadly passed away aged 84 earlier in the week. The Scot was the only Millwall manager ever to guide the club into the top flight when they won promotion to what was the First Division back in 1988. The lineup for this one for Millwall: Danny McNamara, Murray Wallace, Macaulay Langstaff and Duncan Watmore came into the lineup at the expense of the suspended Japhet Tanganga. The injured trio as well: Sean Hutchinson, Romain Esse and Josh Coburn. Now, for Lampard, he made 4 changes for the visit to the Den. Joel Lato-Baudier returned to the centre of defence, while Jake Bidwell made his first start since returning from an injury he sustained against Sheffield Wednesday. In midfield, Ben Sheaf was joined by Victor Torp, while Ellis Sims led the line for Coventry. In the match, Millwall started brightly, and they did have the ball in the Coventry net, which was direct from a Joe Bryant wind-assisted 12-minute corner. But Macaulay Langstaff was adjudged to have fouled Collins. The first portion of the game was limited, therefore, in chances to note, but frustrations for Millwall with that disallowed goal. Coventry should have been celebrating after an hour, only for F1 Mason Clark's close-range effort to be well saved by Lucas Jensen. They only had to wait 4 more minutes for the forward to put his side ahead as he converted Jack Rodoni's cross. Bobby Thomas almost doubled the lead as well for Coventry, but his 86th minute header, when he rose highest to meet Rodoni's outswinging corner, hit the upright. Statistics wise for this one, Millwall have now lost their last 4 league games in a row against Coventry. The visitors' XG suggesting they deserved victory. No shots on target for Millwall will be frustrating, with only 4 of these efforts blocked, so they'd had 5 of those going off target. They will need to be more clinical. Missing Roman Esse was, of course, a big blow for them, but for Coventry, Jack Radoni and Joel Latabodiere in particular were credited with high scoring rating performances. Dominance on the ball for Coventry saw them control the game, which can be so important in games with tough conditions like they were on Saturday. Now, Neil Harris of Millwall spoke, saying, "I thought the first half were the better team, but we lacked a cutting edge and a couple of chances. We did have, we put over the bar or wide." And then quite the outstanding comment. Just a reminder to people, you miss Romain Esse, you miss Jafet Tanganga, you miss Jake Cooper, 3 players that probably get in anyone else's championship team. It's just a reminder to people, the thickos, that when you take the 3 best player out of the team, that this is Millwall Football Club. Well, some statement there from Neil Harris. Frank Lampard said, "The first half was a bit slow from us. Not easy to come here, and the conditions were obviously very difficult. Really pleased with the character. Really pleased with the personality of the team. It's a nice win. It's a small step forward because there's a lot to do, but we are very happy." That's 4 in a row now without a win for Neil Harris and his Millwall side. Games have been tight all season, and this was no different in the end. But big picture for Millwall, it's their first loss since Matchday 8 against Cardiff City. It's the recent draws which have seen them just about hanging on to their top half position, so they want to get back in the win column soon. Millwall do have the lowest possession in the league. They look to be more direct, but they've been difficult to breach, and it looked like another potential clean sheet against Coventry until their breakthrough. Things do look tricky on the horizon looking at the fixtures. Sheffield United, Middlesbrough and Blackburn all away, and they're all sides in good form. This win ended a 5-game winless run for Coventry and got Frank Lampard off and running with a victory under his belt. New manager expectancy is patience and time, but wins in the meantime will do nothing but help confidence in that process. Just their 3rd clean sheet of the season is another reason to be happy, and just their 2nd win outside of Coventry in the Championship this campaign. A 3rd goal of the season for Efron Mason-Clark, important to get the confidence into the Coventry attacking players. Next up for Coventry, it's a trip to West Bromwich Albion before they host Hull City under their new manager Ruben Selles at the weekend. Portsmouth 3, Bristol City 0, and Portsmouth blew Bristol City away in a blustery afternoon on the south coast. 3-0 for Pompey, their biggest win of the season. It had been 1 win in 12 matches against Bristol City for Portsmouth going into this one, back in September 2011, so a long overdue for the home fans. Colby Bishop, Jacob Murphy and Callum Lang on target for Pompey to jump them off the bottom of the table. John Mousinho retained the same team for Portsmouth that picked a point up at Swansea last weekend. Colby Bishop maintained his place after his first start last time out. Zach Swanson was also fit enough to make the bench after recovering from a foot injury. For Bristol City, Liam Manning made just a single change, looking to carry on where they left off in the dominant victory against Plymouth. Scott Twine missed out on the trip to Hampshire with illness, which saw Marcus McGuane return from injury for a starting berth. In the match, Mousinho had to watch from the gantry due to his suspension, but he would have been delighted with what he saw at Fratton Park. Early on, Max O'Leary was forced into tipping a free kick over the bar. The resulting corner, he also made a really good low-down save to stop from Regan Poole from opening the league. But it was Portsmouth's high tempo and their press which was causing problems. It paid dividends in the 20th minute. Josh Murphy jumped on a mistake at the back, taking the ball off of Dickey and finding Colby Bishop. His initial effort was saved, but the rebound fell straight back to Bishop for his 2nd in 3 games since his return to the team. More on that later. Their pressing worked wonders again in the second half. Dickey was again caught on the ball. Tough afternoon for him with a great slide challenge by Lang. Bishop laid through to Murphy, who calmly slotted through O'Leary's legs to double the lead. 2 turned to 3 then. Murphy was again causing trouble, this time down the left, putting a really quick early, brilliantly struck cross behind the back line of Bristol City for Lang to run onto at the back post for a tap-in, his 5th championship goal of the season. Sinclair Armstrong ran clear on the right late on to maybe reduce it Bristol City, but Nicholas Smith stood tall and secured a clean sheet and a 3-0 win for the home side. Now, statistics-wise, Portsmouth peppered the Bristol City goal with attempts, 8 shots on target against 2 from their opponents. The Robins would have been disappointed not to at least have registered in the goals for their expected goals of 1.22. Overall, despite leading the possession, they struggled to create in the same way that Portsmouth did. O'Leary made 5 saves alongside the 3 that went past him, and Josh Murphy and Colby Bishop both scored highly with an 8.5 and 8.9 respectively on the SofaScore player ratings. Shouting out also to the Portsmouth defence too, with that clean sheet, the icing on the cake for a good day for the home side. Now, post-match reaction from assistant manager John Harley, with Mousinho in the crowd. Obviously, you are also backing to score a goal or pop up with something when talking of Colby Bishop. So he's a constant threat. He's a player who'd hate to play against, but having him on the team, it's like having a mountain. Felt like a really professional performance from us for the whole 97 minutes, especially when you take into account the conditions. Liam Manning said in response, "We were second best in most things, which hasn't been like us. I'll be the first to defend the lads if I think we performed to a level, but we didn't hit that today in most areas." Now, with the postponed games in between, this is now 3 games unbeaten for Portsmouth. They haven't lost in the Championship since their 5th of November trip to Plymouth, as well as their first clean sheet since the back of September against Sheffield United of all teams. Home stadium's always vital to promoted teams. Survival going up a division, they need home wins, and Portsmouth in recent weeks have found more of that winning formula at Fratton Park. They will need it if they are to survive the job. Creating more as an attacking output with 8 shots on target against Bristol City, a statistic they've ranked bottom in with an average of only 3 shots on target per game, with the return of their talented forward coinciding with their upturn in form. Now, we have to talk about Colby Bishop. Colby Bishop's return to the side has given Pompey renewed hope with these 2 wins and a draw since his return, of course, from heart surgery. In the summer, it was identified that the forward had a potential heart risk during an off-season cardiac screening. It was a long recovery, and Bishop has only just returned to the first team, but he's paying dividends. Goal and assist against Bristol City, just an outlier of what attacking output can be, with 2 goals in 3 games since his return. The graphic here showing his career to date. Last season, of course, he struck 21 times in 44 League One games of Portsmouth. It's a real asset to their league-winning season, second only in the top goalscorer charts to Alfie May of Charlton. Now in his 3rd season with Portsmouth, they are hoping his goal-scoring feats can continue as they battle to stay in the Championship. For Bristol City, that's now 3 losses in the last 4 after such a high with the 4-0 victory over Plymouth. That really does bring them back down to earth. Securing mid-table, but as soon as they hit towards the reaches of the playoffs, they seem to get a result or 2 that stretch them back away again. Narrow defeats to Burnley and Watford were understood, but the Robins will have hoped for more against a side struggling in the relegation zone in Portsmouth. Goals outside of the Plymouth game have dried up somewhat, but a tricky tie awaits them as well at the Stadium of Light up next before they host a QPR team who are also fighting to pick up their form at the weekend. QPR 3, Norwich City 0, and it was an Algerian under-20 international came off the bench. It was Rayan Coley, I think is how you pronounce it, to send the home fans into raptures with a brace to celebrate his first senior goals. It had been a long time coming for the QPR fans who hadn't seen a home win at Loftus Road since April. Norwich continued their struggling away form, but off the back of strong recent performances, they would have been a bit shell-shocked by this one. In terms of the lineups, Martí Cifuentes made 1 change from last weekend's draw with Watford. Jonathan Varane was replacing the suspended Sam Field, lining up in a 4-2-3-1 for the visit of the Canaries. Now for Norwich, Marcelino Nunes made his return to Johannes Hofthorp's starting lineup, having featured from the bench against Luton Town last weekend. Jose Cordova was also named on the bench, as he'd also just returned from injury. So the match itself, opening goal, was a poignant one actually. Defender Jimmy Dunn sadly lost his father earlier in the week, and he was on hand to prod home for QPR from close range after some pretty awful defending in the own box from Norwich following a corner. Didn't deal with the situation. Stoppage time at the end of first half, Coley dived to head in a Kenneth Parr free kick with space for days, doubling QPR's lead, giving the home supporters some much needed Loftus Road cheer. Boyer Science thought he had the 17th of the season for himself in the second half, but offside denied him just yet another for his tally. Well, Callum Doyle slipped in possession. Coley stole the ball, raced clear, found a large gap between Gunn and his near post, with the Norwich keeper having a 150th appearance to forget. Rangers survived a loud penalty appeal as the ball struck a Harrison Ashby hand in the box, and Kernich thought he'd scored only to be the victim of another tight offside decision, as it ended up QPR 3, Norwich 0. That was the first win for QPR against Norwich in 9 attempts, a good midfield performance on the statistics, and despite Norwich's dominance in possession, they only created one shot on target, and the XG shows how just ruthless QPR were with their finishing. Coley will be a huge positive for Rangers on a day he'll never forget, and not expected for sure, having only got his substitutes jacket off after 13 minutes when Zan Sealot was forced off. And Marty Cifuentes said it's been too long since a home win, but it came at an important moment against a very good team. So today we capitalised on our chances. We're really good in key moments of the game. He also spoke about Jimmy Dunn. He said this has made the group stronger. They were supportive towards Jimmy. He's an important character and player for us. The way the group reacted to this tragedy says a lot about what kind of dressing room that we have. Johannes Hoff-Thorup, he said it's something we need to talk about, how we can be so off and invite so many difficult moments. We handed simple duels really bad, and at set pieces we're not aware and paying the attention required. So QPR dashboard shows here, when you need a win, you really need a win, and QPR really needed wins. Off the back of that win against Cardiff 2 match days ago, QPR have now picked up 8 points in their last 4 games, and it's been enough to take them out of the relegation zone for the first time since match day 7. So Fuentes will be hoping that his side really have turned a corner, particularly in their recent defensive displays. 3 successive clean sheets showing that they're better at the back than their position suggests, as they only sit 13th in the league for goals conceded. More of the positives for Fuentes, it's the first time they scored 3 goals or more all season, and Coley is certainly one that the fans will be excited about. For Norwich, that result will probably have come as a bit of a shocker off the back of their last 2 games against Luton and Plymouth. Usually so clinical in front of goal, and shots on target was lacking at Loftus Road for the Canaries. After positive results, they'll be hoping they don't slump off now. They fought themselves back into playoff contention. Still conceding far too many goals, but the division's great entertainers so far, without doubt. Portsmouth will be buoyed by their weekend results, so Fratton Park will be a difficult place to go and be bouncing for Norwich to attend to before Sunderland. Burnley, before that, they come to Norwich, come for Norwich in their matches upcoming. So not easy for the Canaries. And on Sunday, it was West Bromwich Albion 2, Sheffield United 2. What a turn up for the books. Another West Bromwich Albion draw. 10 times now in 11 games they've ended up in a draw. This time with Sheffield United, the visitors to the Hawthorns. The Sunday fixture saw a Desmond amongst the storms up and down the UK with pouring rain in the Black Country. With the point for Sheffield United enough to jump them back above Leeds to go top of the Championship. Now, for the home lineup, Carlos Corberán had made 2 changes to his West Brom side. Callum Stiles and Mikey Johnson both came into the starting lineup, with Mason Holgate and Lewis Dobbin dropping to the substitutes bench. For Sheffield United, Wilder made 1 change, with the suspended Harry Sotar replaced by Femi Sariki, allowing Avri Gilchrist to move into centre. While Ryan Brewster was back fit again to be on the bench for the Blades for the first time since the start of November. And the Baggies struck first in the match, a deserved lead. Hegam's header from Alex Mowatt's left foot in swinging corner. It was his first goal for the club. But they were pierced by the Blades quickly, twice in fact. It was Harrison Burrows. He was the man causing danger both times. Firstly, his low cross cannoned off of 2 Albion defenders, right into the path of Callum O'Hare, who stabbed home to give them the equaliser. Then it went wide again to Burrows. So much room again. He was able to guide over a more dangerous delivery, and Tyrese Campbell converted to put them in the lead. A moment of fortune got West Brom back in it. It helped the match level. Fellows' attempted corner from the right deflected wickedly into the ground off Gus Amer. Looped over keeper Michael Cooper, reaching the top left-hand corner to the final score. So a fairly even game on the statistics. Similar shots and goalkeeper saves. Both teams outperforming their expected goals. Baggies dominated possession with 58%, finding themselves more successful in their passes, with Sheffield United going more direct at times with their long ball. Hegem hit his goal for a 7.8 rating on SofaScore for the Baggies, and their midfielder and front line were all consistent scorers over 7 on the rating. Sheffield United had Burrows and Amer break the 7 rating barrier, with Tyrese Campbell's reaction finish helping him earn a 7.3. Conditions shocking for all teams this weekend, but 4 goals at the Hawthorns was a great Sunday afternoon entertainment. Carlos Corberán said, "We lost concentration in the box, allowed them to score their 2 goals. It's very frustrating. Second half, we managed to get back to how we performed in the first 20 minutes. Chris Wilder said, "We're up against a really good team. Massive test for us. We showed great character. Tough out there, but this side are learning on the job." Albion have now drawn with all the top four, having had goalless draws at home to Leeds United and Burnley, and also at Sunderland. But 2 goals scored without Josh Madger being one of them would have been enough in recent weeks. Unfortunately, from a Baggies perspective, it was not to be against Sheffield United. That's now 11 draws this season. Yet 8th place in the Championship sees West Brom still well in contention for the top places. They're difficult to beat. Only Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough have been able to do it so far this season. Next up for Albion, it's Frank Lampard and his new Coventry City side. For Sheffield United, now 6 goals in 8 games for Tyrese Campbell on some fantastic form. 2-2 draw at West Brom extends Sheffield United's unbeaten run to 8 matches. It's their 4th away draw of the season, and seeing them amongst the goals again, but they'll be frustrated not to pick up all 3. Chris Wilder's side are amongst the top of the stats, and you'd expect for the team top of the table to be like that. Usually, we'll be waxing lyrical about their excellent defensive stats, although with the conditions and West Brom's performance, they can be excused this one. But they will fancy themselves in games to come against Millwall, Plymouth, and Cardiff, as Sheffield United remain top of the Championship. And as we say, there we go. There is the league table after match day 19. Sheffield United leading the way from Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland, Middlesbrough and Blackburn Rovers rounding off the playoff positions. At the bottom, of course, QPR jumping outside of the relegation zone. Plymouth, not unable to play this weekend, remain 22nd, Portsmouth 23rd and Hull City dropping to 24th. So it's a double game week in the Championship. There are fixtures coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. Plenty of action coming up over December in the Championship. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, this run through the new dashboard that I'm presenting here. I've been working on for a little while. Any like, subscribe. I would absolutely be very generous of you to support the channel as I continue to do my football content. And of course, I am part of and produce the Absolute Football Podcast. If you're not aware of it, we have an absolutely lower league show. It goes live every Thursday from 8:30. They'll be talking about both last weekend's games and the midweek Championship games, as well as League One, League Two, and the National League. So plenty to cover with the team. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed the football. Enjoy the football to come, and I'll catch you on the next one.